I have heard a lot of people saying that use anger to your advantage. Now that's an oxymoron statement. Life is filled with diversities. And there are millions and millions of diversities in our lives. And how we engage with those diversities helps us react or keeps us alive. Now, that life could be something which is an adventurous one, or a treacherous one, or a torturous one. So the amount of options, the amount of challenges, and the amount of things which happen around us are so high in magnitude that we can pick and choose how we want to live and how we want to engage with it. And those experiences, the way we engage with life, defines us, defines how we feel about us at that point in time. And these feelings compound to give us a fulfillment. The one such feeling I would like to address today, which is a very, very integral part of us, which keeps us in a negative space and in fact creates consequences for us which are very negative as we go acting on them. And that feeling is anger. I'll try and focus on anger. Anger is a state of expression, of rejection of anything. We would be very angry, or we would get very angry if things are not in the line of our expectations or what we like. So it depends on how bad the situation is, how bad the rejection is, how bad the criticism is. The reaction mounts to a level where it can be very harmful to us and even to the person in front of us, or even the situation which we are going to create because of enacting this anger. So it's an expression of defeat. It's an ultimate expression of defeat. It's an ultimate expression of lawlessness, and it's an expression wherein you are completely out of control of your own senses. So you're not thinking in a logical way. You're not accepting what has happened, understanding how to go about what has happened, but you're reacting to a rejection. And when you react to a rejection, and the magnitude of the rejection, the way you pursue it, empowers or builds the pressure for you to react to that extent. So the anger could be to some extent wherein you only use your words. In the worst extent, you start physically using your body as a device to express your anger or the pressure of rejection which you just want to get out of your system. Now, when that is done, whatever happens after that is a disaster. And I don't have to tell you that, I think everybody knows. So how do we handle anger? And what is anger? That's more important. How do we handle anger is probably the post-mortem of anger. So when you are already angry, how do you control it? Some small mechanisms like take a deep breath, don't try to react right away, try and understand the situation. All those are small things which help you kind of stay calm and not get on with it on a full flow. That's okay. Those are techniques. Those are some kind of methods which could help you when you've caught yourself in that situation. But how about this? How do we work on ourselves so that anything which comes to us as a rejection, as a criticism, does not pile so much negative energy within us so that we have to enact it in some way or the other. You don't have to build anger to add some kind of a reason to channelize that anger and then go behind proving a point. I have heard a lot of people saying that use anger to your advantage. Now that's an oxymoron statement. First you have anger and you're going to use that anger for your advantage. I don't know what sense it's going to make. Understand this. We live on this earth with people. Our experiences come from people. We love people. We love them to be loved too. We expect them to love us too. Because the feeling of being loved is reciprocated by loving them too. Right? So, where did anger come into the picture of your growth? And how can you use anger to grow or even prove a point? And if you're doing that, now you just step on the other side of the direction you're supposed to be on. A full flow. Not just that you realize it's an anger and you're even trying to channelize that anger, that energy of anger, and you hope to make some sense of that anger so that you get benefited with it. I've heard, I have seen, and it's even documented in not just books, even in blogs and documentaries and things of that nature, where people have said, wise people, so-called wise people have said, use your anger to make you stronger. Mark my words, there is nothing more stupid than this. Once you get angry, remember this, underline it, that you're not accepting what has happened with you. Not even to you, with you. Your first reaction to that is to understand why are you in that situation. If somebody tells you that you're a loser, and somebody tells you that you did not come up in life, or you did not make money, fame, whatever, right? So there is a feedback given to you from certain sections or a section which tells you that you're worth nothing. So getting angry on that and then building that anger, using it, trying to think that it's some kind of a strength, and then you're going to use all that to develop yourself and then come and unleash it on the rest of the world. To prove what? That you achieved something? And what would you unleash? Negativity. Pure outright negativity. If somebody tells you, okay, I don't like the way you work, or okay, you're not going to be somebody in life, most often than not, you get to hear this, that my teacher, when I was very young, said that you're good for nothing. Then, after a couple of years, over a period of time, and blah and blue happened, and then certain things turned around, and here I am, a very successful man. So don't listen to people. That is the underlying message which is thrown on our faces time and over again, that don't listen to people. They didn't expect much of you. And here you are, a successful man, a man with such exuberant confidence that you're able to go back into your past and then recall the time when somebody said that you're not good and then associate that with what you have become today. You couldn't be more of a self-centered, self-gloating person. From the time somebody told you you're not worth it, it was just a feedback. Maybe you are at that point, or maybe not. That's okay. And today, whoever you are is because of what you have learned over a period of time. And if you're telling me that you remember what happened to you when you were like 10 years, 6 years, 5 years, at the age of 30 or 25, and telling that, okay, that triggered off and this triggered off, understand this. You're just fooling yourself. You're giving too much credit to yourself. You're giving too much credit to your success. You have rightfully grown. You have understood a couple of things. Maybe in subconsciousness you have grown. That has helped you become who you are. And whatever you are today is because of your efforts is all good. But just to say that somebody criticized me at that point in time, either that made me get up or it made me so angry that today this is who I am. That's a typically a stupid way of gloating about themselves, thinking they're already successful at that point in time. I keep saying this, take feedback as feedback. Anger helps no one. It does not help anyone, not you, not the people you're trying to prove a point to. It is just a release of pressure, a release of energy which you're kind of piled up inside you, and that when you release it, and when you get depressurized, I wouldn't say it's happiness or you feel relieved, the depressure of that makes you feel you've achieved something. Because when you acted that anger, I'm pretty sure that hasn't gone down well anywhere. I've heard people say, don't let people tell you this, don't let people tell you that. So where's the feedback going to come from? So you think that what you do is right. So you think what you know is right. So there is no learning. For you, learning means what? Whatever I have voluntarily gone and seen and felt, that is my learning. So I never learn with errors. I'm only learning by success. Now, that's, I don't know what to call that. That's a joke. We always learn to trial and error. We think we know something, we go apply it, then something else comes out of it, or something slightly divergent or a little bit different, and then we take that to our feedback, and then we grow on, and as we grow on, we start coming up in life. You don't start running when you're born. You take your stumbles, then you are a toddler trying to walk, and then you walk, and then you run. And when you're running, there are different speeds of running because everybody is now running. Now that puts you in a place, how good are you at running? So basically about life, this is how I'm saying, challenges in life keep catching up on you. Because you set yourself up for challenges. When you perform better, you're just raising the bar higher and higher. And that is going to bring in challenges for you. And you will enjoy those challenges as long as you're focused on them. Not on the people or fixation on the people. Not everybody hates you. And the hate is only coming out of a small segment of your life which they have happened to see and they don't like it. And the liking could be anything. They don't like the way you said, you performed, maybe your idea, maybe your face, maybe your personality. It could be anything. Because none of us are made to satisfy everyone. And who are we to satisfy anyone? There are two things which value most in life, which honor the essence of humanity, that is morals and ethics. Take this away, we are no less than an orangutan or a monkey or any primate. These two things define our consciousness. They define our preservation. They define our growth. They define our mentality. They define our intelligence. They are the two most important beacons which give hope for the rest of us. The basic unit of a human being is to do what? Is to be part of the society and help the society. That is all. Now, that is all has so many more things encompassed to it. This is the most macro situation I can show now. Right? Now, when you go cutting it down, now you need to know that everything you do for you to feel a sense of reward, a sense of happiness, a sense of success comes from people. You don't feel it internally. You're not a mad guy that you just start dreaming of certain things and feel that, okay, I did something great and I'm feeling happy about it. Daydreamers. And anyway, they're busy dreaming that they can't act. They don't have the time to act. That's logical. When you're dreaming so much, of course, there is time for everything. So if you're using your time for daydreaming, you have less time to act. And mind you, daydreaming is taxing, exhausting. So they have to sleep, again dream, and sleep. Kind of procrastination. Not exactly procrastination, kind of it. They run their process, they run their ideas, they run their whatever fantasies they have in their head, and then that takes a full circle. Whatever makes them happy, lets them sleep. Whatever kind of irritates them, makes them be more anxious and then more pessimistic towards reality. Now they've seen all this in their mind, but nothing has happened in reality, but they feel pessimistic towards the reality. Fair. But who are you? What do you intend to do? And when you go on to act, there are no adversaries. There are no enemies in life. And by God, life is not a war. Mark my words, life is not a war. Never associate guns and shoot and war with your life. These are all anti-life. These things destroy life. You're not at war with life. You must be at peace with life. When you look at life in that aspect, nobody is your enemy. You are your enemy. You are the one who is conceptualizing perceptions, or even somebody who's not able to handle the reality and has not worked to see that why this person is not able to understand why things are going so drastically bad that you have to feel the emotion of defeat, anger, and anxiety. When you give up all this, then that's depression. When you call it quits, it's an acquiescent state. You reluctantly, but you still give up. You're reluctant, but you still give up. That's a sad state. And that is where your depression sets in, because you don't want to be defeated, but you accept defeat. You don't want to get up and fight. Wrong choice of word. You don't want to get up and leave. Live your life. Every act you do is life. Every act you put out is encouraging you to do more and more. Now, why would you want to give up? Life is not throwing anything at you. You are the ones who are throwing the curveballs at life, and when it comes back like a boomerang, goes and comes back at you. And what comes back at you, you might not like, and that's the reason why we start blaming life. So, one great expression of reacting to this kind of situation is anger. Anger is a state of not accepting that you have done something wrong. It's a state where you not just not accept it, but you still try and enforce what you think is right. That enforcement comes through various things. If you have the power, you will enforce it with anger, with power, with force. If you don't have it, you react to it in words like abuse or mischief talk or spreading wrong information. Or if you're somebody who is more physical, of course you're going to use your hands and legs, I don't know what not. That's what anger does. So what is the result of all this? How can it be powerful? How can it make you stronger? I fail to understand this. If you are in that state of anger, yes, take a deep breath. A couple of them, not just one. Try and just listen to what's happening. Feel what's happening. Don't try and personalize it. try and absorb it. The best way to avoid anger is to build yourself in such a way that you absorb anything which comes your way. And then you categorize it according to the subject, according to the situation, according to the action, and then react on it. So there is no presence of anger. There could be a lesson which gives you an insight on what you should not have done or should have done differently, or that you need to know more, or you are not equipped or ready for a situation like this, or whatever you did not know what you're getting yourself into. So if you observe and see what's happening around you, or even if you just absorb what is coming your way, give it a second or two. I'm telling you, the feeling of rejection, it is there in all of us. We are human beings. I say, we are human beings. We are not angels. We are probably the pinnacles of imperfection with a consciousness. And the consciousness is supposed to help us make things better. You give people money, nobody wants to work. You keep people in a comfort place, nobody wants to do anything. So who are we? We are not angels. So to expect us to do everything right, expect us to understand everything in the right sense is also not possible. We will learn, and that is how we learn. But we have the super strength of consciousness. And that super strength is going to help us look at all the challenges. I'm saying there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with life. Whatever comes at you are the challenges. They are not your adversaries. They are not the ones who are going to harm you. They are the ones who you're facing them because you ran yourself to a wall. That's why the wall is right in front of your face. The wall did not walk up to you. Now you don't have to reject it and try to, bust your way through the wall. You're going to lose your head and hands or whatever you're using against it. And start crying that, okay, the world is hard or whatever. Or take 5 steps back, build up that anger and go and hit the wall once again. The damage is even more bigger now. So I urge you to try and not even get to a space of anger. We will. There are times when it will still get through us. The emotions are the fantastic things. Even be it anger. Happiness is not the only thing. There's no joy in being happy all the time. There's no such thing as being happy all the time. If you're walking 10 steps, assume you're somebody who's got an issue and you're not able to walk, right? So for you, at that point, walking each step is a sense of joy. And look at another person. Look at you. You can run, you can jump, you can do anything. Are you happy? Are you joyous? You're not. So success should be one such thing, that whatever you are achieving on a daily basis becomes a norm. And whenever you tremble and fall, you know you misstepped, misunderstood, did not know the ground. That should not make you angry. It should take you to retrospection right there. So anger is not born. We create anger because of our insecurities. And the insecurities come in because we know less. And we want to portray more. Or we offer less, we want more. We do less, we expect more. These are the nutshells which kind of keep cracking on our head and makes us go crazy. If we start accepting, understanding, analyzing where we are, and whenever we get into a space which is not the one you wanted to be in, that's a fantastic place. That's the place of learning. That's the place we learn things. That's a place we learn more than we normally would. I don't understand where is anger in all this. You don't need to be kicked by somebody else to start walking. You build your life, you set your goals, and whenever you're not meeting their goals or falling short of it or finding it difficult to reach them, try to break those goals into even smaller ones so that you understand, you take those baby steps. And if you're still not able to do it, it simply means only one thing, that you don't have the information. Now this is typically, see, when you understand this, when you have a need, there's a very good chance you will get to it. And when you reach that need, the want which was there in front of the need also becomes a need after that, because you graduated to a level to that space. So that becomes another need. And that's how you start acquiring your wants. You kind of step into your life slowly and sturdily, depending on how sure you are, how confident you are. Your confidence stems from your success, and that success simply means whatever you're doing on daily basis, you're able to achieve them. If not, maybe you have 10 things to do today and you get to 8 and you miss on 2. So you go and work on those 2 the next day and add another 8 to it, and add another 5 to it. So you keep progressing. I'll just give you a small example. When I was a kid, I always felt owning a car is a big deal. I have one car and one house, I'm good and happy. When I got to the car and I said, no, I need an X branded one. So I worked my way towards that. And when I reached that, maybe I need something else now. Right? That's how you go towards your wants. Because when you have the capacity and the capability and the resources and the ability to execute it, and then understand what you're executing, your wants would turn into your needs like that. You are focused on what you want to achieve. You concentrate on yourself. You welcome life, you appreciate the reality. Because the diversity of that reality empowers you to an extent which gives you so much resources, which gives you so much of know-how, understanding, that it makes you stronger in whatever endeavor you have. Your endeavor is not to understand the entire reality. The reality in which you exist and what you want, only that is what you're focused on. Whatever is happening far away from your reality should not concern you at that point in time. Because when you become stronger and bigger, even that far away things become near to you, because you have become so powerful and resourceful that also becomes a part of your need than you want. That you have the space, you have the capacity to deliver or even help, solve, or bring happiness. And that graduation, or let me put it this way, or that level of performance only comes through graduations. It does not come out of nowhere, not by a trick or some kind of a method. They will help you understand. They will help you move up the ladder a bit. But you can't have hacks. Hacks don't run life. They just give you a small jump start here or there. Maybe they just skip one moment and help you to get to another one. But it has to be done in the spirit, within the realms of morale and ethics. You stay between these two, you will always be peaceful. Fear is nowhere to be seen. But when you jump this, start taking chances, you're trying to miscommunicate and somehow trying to pull a fast one, you will always be worried and scared that what if this person realizes this? What if this person comes to know about it? Or what if the situation gets to a place where whatever I have done comes in the forefront and I get caught for it? So that is fear. And it stems out of insecurity. And insecurity is because you've done something not knowing what it is. And the intention behind that is to gain more than what you have to offer. So this is the burgeoning ground for anger. This is the place of deceit. I told earlier too, we are conscious human beings. We can always rewrite anything we want, as long as it is us, not somebody else's life or somebody else's day. It's us. We can rewrite within us and reshape whatever we are doing and then move towards what makes us happy. Never follow somebody. Understand how they do it. Never follow somebody else's dream. It has to be your dream. You can have people engage into it. And because they will find their dream in your dream too. It's not exactly the way you dreamt it. It could be something on those lines. It's basically, if somebody wants to go up in life and do something else, you are all on the same boat. Do not make enemies of people. Only situations are unfavorable. The acts people do in that limited amount of time might reflect hard on you, might be bad for you, or even could hurt you. But understand, it's all situation based. Mostly it is situation based. Don't make enemies of people. People will change. You will change. Just use that experience to understand how to handle the situation and also to understand people. There are people who have some innate negative way of functioning. They talk in senses wherein they even might find joy in troubling other people. Sometimes we even term them loosely as sadists. Some deserve it. But that is only to understand what kind of a personality they have then. Now, there are some people who are mischief mongers. They are the ones who kind of derive pleasure in hurting people and making joke of them. Not in the good sense, not a joke as in laugh or something, wherein they just want to belittle them, make them feel small, make them feel not wanted. You have to make sure that you understand these people and the mentality where they come from. So the best thing for you in future or in very near future is to avoid such people. Don't engage with them. They are good at what they're doing. They will destroy your soul. They will destroy your vibrations. They will destroy your expressions of free enjoyment of life. Because they derive their purpose, they derive their energies from a completely different source. Some people, will like it or not, derive happiness out of situations of other people. They derive some kind of pleasure out of somebody else's suffering. There are such people. You would find some. But then they don't define you. The most important thing when I say you need to know yourself is that you know that when you identify this kind of people, when you come across this kind of people, you identify and know their personalities. You don't hate them. They are who they are, and that's how they are. Don't go and change them either. They are not looking for any kind of relief by changing themselves. I said earlier, life is filled with diversities. You will find all kinds of people, different mindsets, different walks of life, different ideologies, different practices, different beliefs, faith, systems. You don't have to know each one of them, but at least stay close to the ones which vibrate with you, which make sense to you. And for that, you have to be open and accepting. Accepting is only till absorption. It does not mean you accept whatever they're doing is right. When you absorb, and the idea is to know where they come from. The idea is to know where these energies are coming from. What is the idea of this energy? And what do you understand of that energy? All of us act in an intent. That intent could be anything. To achieve something, to harm somebody, to feel good. It could be anything. So once you recognize such personalities and personas, you have to make sure that you have the strength, or at least you have the awareness that these are such personalities and you just need to ignore them either on your face or try and make sure that you don't come across such people more often. There is a fantastic old saying which says, birds of same feathers flock together. So if you're an open-minded person, you will attract those kind of people. So as you go about in life, even though there is a decent concentration of these people in your life, For the person who you are, a welcoming person, a person who absorbs everything, and he's not a very reactive person, reacts at will, reacts when he wants to react, he is not provoked. You are as good a person as the smallest thing which provokes you. It's nice to know what's happening, it's nice to feel about what's happening, but it should also be accepting in nature for you so that you don't have to be provoked. It cannot be an animal instinct just to stand up and react. Consciousness brings in awareness. Also tells you, live and let live. That should be your motto in life. So when you understand that everybody is here to stay, everybody is here to work together, there are certain aspects of everybody which is kind of contrary to your belief. That person is not a bad person. That person has a belief of that nature. You don't have to gel with that kind of belief. You accept the person is around in life, but you don't have to follow that belief or even go contrary to it. The best way of propagating what you think is right is to act on it, not to react on somebody else's belief, not to compare. There cannot be a versus. You do your thing. The nature will follow you. I'm not saying go change people. You're nobody to go and change people. You can only help them, and then too if they seek that help. But if you enforce yourself on them, then you're no less than them. You're trying to push your agenda into other people. Never push whatever you think is right on yourself. If that vibrates in the right way, whatever vibrates out of you, you are the luminescence of your insight. You are the practitioner of your belief. So when people see this or the world looks at it, some would be encouraged and some might not even accept it, and some might think that's all right. So if somebody grabs onto it, gravitates towards you, you hold their hand, and if they want to know more, you can help them know more. But you are in no way, or you should not, enforce anything which you believe is right on somebody else. You are no authority on somebody else. Understand that. The reason I'm trying to bring this towards anger is when you lose control, this is another way of getting angry. This is another way. Anger can make you enforce. You think it's belief, you think it's faith, it's not. It's the anger that this person does not accept what I'm doing, does not believe in my faith. I'm going to enforce it. That is the anger which is playing out. It is not compassion. You're not driven by helping the person out. It's a very superficial way of feeling relieved that you're doing something good for somebody else by enforcing it on them. That's just a power play. So try and understand that each one of us is trying to live a life with whatever capabilities we have. Some are conscious, they're trying to better themselves up. Some are not. Some are downright beaten. Some don't have the ability even to understand what's happening around them. Some are straightforward, obnoxious people who derive pleasure in just making fun of people or seeing people hurt. All these are truths. All these are realities. And you are one in it. Just figure out where you are. See what rocks your boat. So you have no control. You have only control on yourself. You have no control on the rest of the world. What you do propagates, radiates, and then your circle of influence grows and people will buy into it. Whoever buys into it, buys into it. Help them understand it even more better. But do not challenge them. Do not force them to accept what you think is right. That's another kind of anger. One anger comes out of defeat. Another anger comes out of power. Because you can enact that anger and have fun with it. I don't want to say there are some personalities who are doing this kind of work. You would recognize them. And they're not some small personalities, they're huge ones, probably the biggest ones. You will see this kind of kindergarten mindset, wherein the focus is that if you are not with me, then you're against me, so I'm going to enforce everything I have. That's an anger. You're using power and force. That's an anger. If you call this as a resource, like when some people say that, use your anger to make yourself stronger. That's one thing. Use your anger to make yourself more powerful. That's another thing. But either which way you see it, does it help the society? Does it even help you? So for these kind of people, they're only waging war with people. It's a war of power, not humanity. Power brings in restrictions. Humanity is all about living free. If you have your language right, if you have your mentality right, I'll try and put this another way. If you have a good mentality, a mentality which is live and let live, does not mean forget and forgive. It's just live and let live. Do not forget what goes wrong. You learn from it, and you also learn from where it is coming, so that you have an indicator that what could come from that side. And never forget. There are certain things which are worth forgetting, but don't bring that past into your future whenever you feel defeated, whenever you feel that you've been let down. Let it be in the past, just in an index of your book which says that something like this happened and this is what I have learned from it. Because we always learn from our past. We know more from information and we try and understand the future, but we always learn from the past. So, the calm you are, that mindset helps you understand what is going on around you. So when you know what's going on around you, you still have the emotions and the feelings, but they are very much in check. They do not provoke you. They might incite few things in you wherein you understand that you need to learn more or know more or have better connections or more friends, something of that sort, but on a productive side. Because when something stops you, then you are in some direction in the first place, right? So if something stops you, you're looking at what? Not destroying what has stopped you. You're understanding why it stopped you. If you destroy and go further up, you're going to again face something. And if you keep fighting against things around you, eventually you will lose. You will lose your energy. You'll get tired. You'll give up. But if you understand why the objection is there in the first place, you would learn from it. And you dissolve the objection. And this cannot repeat again in the future because you understood that objection. So every step from there on henceforward is going to be taking all these objections in your mind, and they are automatically getting mitigated. So knowing 2-3 objections, it could also mitigate the forthcoming ones, because objections also tell, once you learn about this and then you kind of dissolve them, you know the probabilities what could come further up. So these are obstacles which are generated from one to another. They are not independent. If you don't get this objection sorted out, then there will be something similar in front of you again. But if you beat this thing up, understand it and dissolve it right here, then anything leading because of this is non-existent, because with this, that is already gone. So there is no anger. So you will start understanding stuff. For that, you need a calm mindset. For that, you need a language which you're able to express without feeling frustrated that you don't have the words or you don't have a mechanism to express your feelings. When you don't have a language, then you use abstract words to put your point across. And when you lose that too, then you use your physicality. So language is very important. Use of words is very important. A calm mind will let you articulate your thought process in words, not in actions or in abuses. And when you can use them in words, you are able to better convince or put across your point or even learn. I will sum this up with a small thing. When you can hold a conversation, always hold a conversation. Because once the conversation fails, only then the physical animosity comes in, and that is when the acts of disgrace follow, of abuse and then physical assaults. A man who knows how to make a great handshake, mark my words, will never need a gun. I am Raj Khan. Thank you for listening to me today.